Hi everyone, good afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Teams Nation. Hope you had a great day already today. A lot of interesting sessions and there's more to come. So this one is going to be about Teams apps in production, some lessons I've learned. Developing and putting them in production. Developing Teams apps is of course step one, but having them in production is another thing that has its own quirks. So let's dive into it and see if you can learn something from this session and see if I can show you some of my lessons that I've learned. Now, lesson one, first lesson, very important. Analytics is key. Now, I think Teams apps they're usually built on Azure. Let's not you can also build them on AWS or on G Cloud or whatever. But yeah, we built them in Azure. Most of us are used to Azure. Office 365 and Azure are linked together, so we built them from the start. Now, I use application insights, but yeah, sometimes it's your friend, sometimes it's not your friend. Now, first thing, there's a difference between analytics. There's the developer analytics, so the things we as developers, if you're a developer, want to know is, what step was called in application one? What step was called in application two? So those are the things we want to know. But yeah, what happens if the app crashes? We have an exception, or we have something weird going on, or a user logs this kind of issue. That's a totally different story than the other analytics. So these are the things we need to get our app running and to have it running in production, of course. This is what I'm talking about. And we have events and custom events and dependencies and with timestamps and with IDs and GUIDs and everything that makes a developer super happy that he sees what's going on in this application. Dependency duration 100 milliseconds. So we have to look at this. So that's one side of the story. The other side of the story, of course, is you want to have I call it functional analytics, but the business people or who owns the app. I'm sorry for the why doesn't it stop? Who owns the app? Yeah, they want to know who uses our app actually, and why did they use our app, and can we improve something in the flow? Is the business case correct? So those are totally different analytics. You can use application insights. I do it as well to have them both in there, but you have to differentiate from the start. If you do that from the start, then otherwise you have to do updates and get stuff fixed in the after a while, which is or change the logging after a while, which is not always not fun. So that's one lesson one. Yeah, differentiate between stuff like that. So if we want to know, okay, you can create custom events in the application insights. I might show you in a little bit how to do that. But yeah, the most important thing is differentiate right from the start. So what I mean by functional analytics, okay, people who own the business case side of the app who wants to know what the app is doing. Yeah, they don't care if step one intro took 100 milliseconds. Of course not. No, they care about okay, how many users are there and how many people are using our app and what's the use base of every day, or even better, because this is just a number, but this one is even better. As you can see here, what's the usage throughout the day, and this can also help the developer, of course, because as you can see here, if I go one back, as you can see here, this is because the usage through the day. So if we look at this, it looks like in the afternoon the app is used a lot. Of course, we can, as you can see here on a Sunday, it's very low. So when's the best time to do a deployment, especially if you have a global app? So an app in the team store means globally available for everyone. So yeah, then everybody's using your app all the time. And when are you going to do updates? Okay, an update takes like 5 seconds, but still you have to do an update. So what's the best time for it? So in this case, for instance, the best time to do my updates is at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, or 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Even better, 0 people are using the app. I don't want to do an update at 2 p.m. of course, because if 100 people are using the app, Yeah, maybe not a good idea to do an update, because if they're in the middle of a, I don't know, conversation, or they have a task module up and running, and yeah, it doesn't get any response, or even worse, if you have messaging extensions. With messaging extensions, you get like 5 seconds to respond. Yeah, if you're doing a deployment, yeah, it takes a little while for the app to come online again. Yeah, you're not gonna hit that 5 second limit. So yeah, be sure. This is also very good to look at these kinds of analytics. Not only, okay, what's step one, what's step two, what's step three, how is my code running, what's my code analytics, but yeah, who is using the app and when, of course. Or even better, who is returning to your app, so you can have the people that are return, meaning that if you have returning users, depending on the use case of your app, of course, because yeah, it's not always good if you have like an app that's built to be used once a month. Like for instance, a bot is different than a tab. If you build a tab, of course, and most use cases for a tab are like people want to use it once a day, once a week, stuff like that. Yeah, then you want people to come back and to use that. um, if you have like a bot which, I don't know, answers questions for, I don't know, some niche topic, yeah, of course, if people use it once a month, then that's also very good. But you need to know that stuff. If you don't know that stuff, then you cannot make a decent decision on okay, how is our app evolving, because you need to know how your app is evolving. And of course, most important thing, don't forget feedback. So don't overdo it, because feedback can be very annoying. I don't think I have to give you the example of annoying feedback. It's something that, especially in bots, yeah, you can do give feedback, give feedback, give feedback. I don't understand your question. Can you rephrase your question to 20 times? Yeah, there's no added value for the user. So don't overdo it, but yeah, don't be afraid to ask for feedback, of course, because there's always, yeah, there's always that slight nuance if you ask for feedback, so that you can see if the user is liking your app, or if yeah, in this case, this is a very bad example of a of, 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 of a feedback, but it can always help your app yeah, progress and get better. Now, that was lesson one. So lesson one, analytics. That's, I think, the most important one. If you have good analytics, you know what's going on in your app, either functional or technical, but you need to put in some good analytics. Default application insights will help you get along with a little bit, but of course, yeah, you need to extend it a little bit more with custom events. Wait, I can show you if you want. I should have some application insights. There you go. So this is what I mean. Everybody have seen this, of course. If you haven't seen it, look into application insights. It's awesome. These are my technical logs. So I just get all the data back, and I get, okay, a request has been made and a response code. And this is very technical. So you don't, it's even sampled because it's a lot. But you can see, okay, this is coming from a government Teams request. So this probably running in some kind of government tenant and stuff like that. Interesting for the developer, not interesting for anybody who is the app owner, or who, yeah, they just don't care. But of course, if you, that's why it says investigate and use it. They're more interested in how many people are actually using this app, of course. What's the funnel? What's the user flow? Do people, as you can see here, so are we at night? It's very quiet, so perfect for deployments. If we want to do changes and all that stuff, do that at this time. So you need to know that, of course, because otherwise, yeah, there's no planning available for your the future of your app. User flows and retention and all that stuff. Perfect for the business side. So lesson one, analytics. Now, lesson two, don't be afraid of change. Yeah, the time from yeah, every 3 years we do a new deployment. And those days are over. So as you can see here, for instance, if you started out with Teams, single sign-on, it didn't exist in the beginning of Teams app development. Same for meeting extensions; they just got created 6 months ago. So yeah, the Teams is evolving. Teams is considering other applications, a brand new application. It's been around for 4 years now, yeah, 4 years and a little bit. So it's they're still building it. They're still things are still evolving. So of course the extensibility model, the how to build on the Teams platform is changing. So that means, yeah, those things will change also. So don't be afraid to. I'm not saying you have to change it every 2 weeks, but if keep in mind that if you build an app, that okay, and I see 3 months later, hey, they invented something new, or they released something new, then it's always easy to implement that, or maybe better or easier for you to implement that and to manage that. For instance, what do I do? I always monitor the app manifest. So if you Google the manifest schema, you're going to get all the manifest. As you can see here, this is an example of the manifest. I usually just go here. So this is the real JSON file. As you can see here, this is version 10. So this was released. If I go one back, they changed it today. So they changed that even today. So today something changed in the manifest, meaning something new is coming. This is of course the you have the pre-release version and the general availability version, but take this into consideration if you monitor the pre-release version, that okay, you know that something is coming. For instance, like I just said, meeting extensions. I know in the meeting extension, meeting extension is just a tab, but and where we can have a channel tab or a private chat tab or a meeting. So a meeting stage. This seems new. So there are always new stuff where you can maybe find out what's going on, what if there's new stuff coming. So that's also good to know. Compose extensions. This all looks normal, but for instance, we have new devices maybe. We have activities. As you can see here, we can now have activities, which is also cool, but there was something about devices. If I'm not mistaken, I saw something about devices. Must have missed it, or maybe they just deleted it. That's what changed. Here. No, post video. Thought there was something about devices. Let me check the real manifest. The real manifest Teams manifest dev preview. This is the good one. So if you look at this one, development preview manifest schema, there we go. This is also raw GitHub. As you can see here, we can also see something like we have icons, configurable tabs, there are meeting services, a set of meeting service item scopes. That's a side panel stage, very interesting. So as you can see here, Teams meeting devices. So the new meeting devices will be a supported platform for apps already. Just information that we can get out a developer preview of the manifest. So don't be afraid of change. And I'm not saying look at this every day, but just keep it in mind. Check from time to time. Hey, how can I that app that I built two years ago, not 2 years ago, but 6 months ago? How can I make it better, or how can I update it to make my life a little bit easier? Now let me go back to my slides. So let's switch this one. Then lesson 3. Concepts like development, testing, acceptance, and production from the past are still valid. So I just have a demo for this one. So it's not because Teams development is new, or we're now doing all front-end development, or we're developing in the cloud, which are all new concepts, or reasonably new concepts, that we have to forget things that were perfectly good and sound concepts a few years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. So we still have development and testing and acceptance and production. So that's still a good idea. You can still do, as you can see here, where's my Azure DevOps? So we have our app application. Somebody does a change, we commit that, and then we have, of course, our CI build, and we have a deployment build, and we let those build, and then we have different release pipelines. As you can see here, this one is even failing, so that's not good. Different release pipelines that releases them to production and to another tenant. And as you can see here, I think that's why it's failing, because I didn't update my Teams app. So we deploy our Azure side, we deploy our Teams side, which is of course not working if you don't update the version always. So that's some stuff like that, and that we can deploy to production or to acceptance or to development. Development, depending on the size of your team. Development for me is just my own personal development, a Microsoft 365 development tenant, but still, you get the idea. Now, with this, there's also something else you should know, which is, there we go, which is, the previous lesson doesn't always apply. So it doesn't always work like that. Why? Because, and I think people who've been in this business for some time can vouch for that. Well, it's almost impossible to have two identical Microsoft 365 tenants. You have no idea when features are released, even in the same release ring. So it's not that simple. data, users, email, channels, chats, yeah, they're never in sync. Yeah, it used to be simple. We take the production database and we copy it once a month to the accept environment and the test environment, and things are in sync and we can test everything. Yeah, with a Microsoft 365 tenant, it's either difficult. Okay, I can copy or migrate all my documents from my files tab, so from my SharePoint site to another tenant, no problem. I have those documents. But yeah, chats, meetings, that's very difficult to migrate. You don't want to do that. You could create a new one, but still live data, real data is much better to test stuff out. So yeah, and even yeah, it takes a month to release a feature these days in tenant. So even if you put yourself in the the targeted release mode in the production and in the targeted release mode and acceptance, there's still a difference when new things come out. So yeah, it's sometimes not that simple. So how do we solve this one? Well, is yeah, like I say here, is test on production, is that the new normal? Well, yeah, these days, yeah, I draw a picture of a cowboy. So yeah, these days it looks like the new normal. So because we need to test somewhere, of course. So that's for why they created Teams app policies. So it would be easier if we could just, and Microsoft is working on that. I know that they're working on making it simpler to deploy stuff. But yeah, we need to, of course, test some stuff out. So it would be the easiest way would be if we have, as you can see here, some test users and all our users or user base, and we can have a Teams app, and we can just say, okay, I want a new version. So version 2 is only released to my test users, and version 1 is still released to all users. But that's, yeah, sorry to say, still not possible in the current environment. There is some, you can now submit an app and stuff like that, but still it's not that simple. But we can still create that to ourselves, two app policies. So if we create two Teams app packages, as you can see here, and they have just exactly the same, so they the same manifest, the only thing that's different is an app ID, then we can create a with the same backend, not the same backend, of course, also, but then we can say, okay, I want to release version 1, I want to release that to all my users, and I have my second Teams app package, which I'm going to deploy to my test users. They have different app ID and endpoints, but if you keep the name the same, you can have the same logo, you can have the same icons, all that stuff, then you can really test them around. And that way, if you're ready to release to V2, then you just say, okay, V2, we goes to all users, and the original version we had, the first version, that goes to our targeted users, so our test user base, ready to be used for V3. This, of course, yeah, it does require you to keep a keen eye on each version, because yeah, you need to know which version now is released to our test users and which version is released to all our users. So let me show you that. It's maybe a little bit easier if I show you that. So as you can see here, in my apps, I just created in my App Studio. So if I go to App Studio, I do identical the same apps. I create my own logos. So I didn't create my own logos. I took where's my App Studio? Let me just take an App Studio. There we go. See, I have exactly the same two Pro Teams CI/CD. So if I click on the first one, it's exactly the same name, the same icons. Okay, those are the default icons, but still they're the same description, same developer. They just point to a different endpoint. And of course, they have a different app ID. So if you can see here, this one ends in 60, this one ends in, oh, they start with a different one. I don't know what I did. There should be a difference, otherwise it's impossible to have both of them. But that way I can link them to different endpoints, and I can say, okay, this one is now released to my general user base, and this one is now released to my Teams user base. Okay, it's a workaround, but still, yeah, it helps, and it makes life at least testable. Your app will be at least testable for some people in a live production environment. Then it will take a little bit more work for your admin account to do that, but yeah, it still makes it simple, because in this case, if I go to my where's my CI/CD app, what do I call it? Pro Teams. As you can see here, they're both published. I can still say, okay, I want to change the status to submitted and all that stuff, which is a little bit easier for the administrator. But as you can see here, different app ID, of course. There's a different app ID. but still, yeah, you need to have a test user base. And then with this set of policies and the permission policies, you can just switch them around. So I can just say, okay, these global ones, well, they get my CI/CD. So I can just say install that app. So install the one with the CI/CD, this one. So add this one, and then to the other users. So I'm not going to save this one. And to the other users, I can just say, okay, install the other one here with install apps. And this, of course, this policy doesn't allow that, but I can put it in here. But you get the idea. Now, the next lesson is going to be, I'm always have to switch. There we go. Follow guidelines. Yeah, there's already a set of guidelines available from Microsoft. So already, yeah, follow those to get started, because yeah, there are some simple guidelines that you can easily screw up your app if you don't follow them. For instance, the simplest one is UI guidelines. Don't create navigation hell. So for instance, in Teams, let me just show you that one. In Teams, we can have just, do we have a tab here? Let's say, for instance, this tab. As you can see here, this is what you get. This is the screen space allowed for you. Let me just click this one. This is now Teams already has, so you have your navigation. Start from beginning. You have your navigation of your browser. You already have a lot of buttons here. You have a lot of buttons here. You have your other apps of Microsoft 365 here. You have your search box. You have your Teams navigation. You have your little buttons here. Your Windows navigation, also navigation. So in the space your app gets, if you add more navigation as well, and even more navigation, you're gonna get navigation hell, which is you're gonna overflow the user with navigation. So don't do that. Make it a simple app. It's one of the guidelines from Microsoft on the Teams Teams development documentation, and yeah, it's a really good one. Just keep it simple. Keep your app simple and don't overdo it with lots and lots of navigation. Now, the other one, and I have to go into switch again. Why do I have to switch the entire time? There we go. The other one is also include a first run experience, especially with bots. There's also with tabs you can also do that, but include a first run experience. So most of the time, the app will be automatically added to Teams. Most companies say, oh yeah, you can add this and just deploy it for all users. Yeah, so it's automatically added. So people have no idea why this app is suddenly showing up in their Teams. What's this about? So really make some advertisement for your app. It's not bad that you can make some advertisement for your app. Hey, this is this app and it does this and this and this. And how can you use this? Well, in this way, and this way, and this way. It's not that bad to have some advertisement for your app and to help users to understand why this is suddenly showing up. It's not because some IT guy just decided, oh, we're going to use this app, let's deploy it to everyone, that everybody, first of all, wants it, and that everybody has an idea what it does. People are still figuring out, we're in this every day, but there are still people figuring out how to, I don't know, create a team in Teams or create a meeting in Teams. They don't have any clue how to use it. So yeah, then there's suddenly some apps showing up and popping up and giving notification, then you're making the experience worse for them. So also include a first run experience. It's always a good idea to look at that. And as I can also say, there's a lot of other recommendations by Microsoft. You have just take a look at it. You don't have to follow all of them. Of course, easy to use. Those are. It's simple to say your app has to be responsive, or your app has to be useful. Yeah, of course. If your app is not useful, then why put any time in it? So those are the normal recommendations. But there's some of them really make sense. Like the one for the navigation, they really make sense. So take a look at this. Also, like this one, for instance, desktop and web, mobile. Yeah. You want to know, you don't need the UI kit to know that, but everybody knows, okay, the desktop, it's going to be a different experience than a mobile experience. So take that into consideration. If you do a pop-up, how big is the pop-up? So yeah, you have to know what's going on. And see, well, you always get a button here, always get a button here. For instance, in this one, so a tab, a configurable tab, you get a save button here. Yeah, don't put 50 other buttons at the bottom, because people have no, and definitely not another save button. So people have no idea if you have two save buttons, which one do I have to click? So if you have the time, or if you start building apps, take a look at it. It's something you read once and you walk away with it for the rest of your life. You know that stuff, so it's not going to change. But also a very good idea to take a look at it. And then my last slide, and then I'm going to open it up for questions, because I want to know what you guys are building, or we can go even further into mine. My last slide is going to be my thank you slide. So my name is Rick. If you have any questions, just old-fashioned email is okay, or Twitter, or GitHub, or this is my blog. I wrote a book about Teams development. So if you're interested in more Teams development, yeah, it's available online. I work for doesnt. I'm an MVP, and I'm also a part of the user group of the information workers in Belgium, and we all host events and also collab days Belgium. So let me know what you thought of this session. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the sessions as well. Don't be afraid to use Twitter and LinkedIn, and I hope I see you in one of the next sessions. Thank you.